Welcome, 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 everybody, to another Sunday of When Black Women Gather. My name is Helen Higginbotham. I'm the founder of this organization. We meet here every Sunday at 4 o'clock to discuss all kinds of topics that are relevant to our community. Although it's a women's organization, we very often invite Black men and sometimes, non-Black folks, but it's a space that's been created just for us to talk about things that are pertinent or relevant or impacting us in some kind of way. And today, I am so honored to have two very special people. We're going to talk about voting rights and the struggle for civil rights for Black folks in America from 1960 with Van Gilmer, who was a part of the 1960 sit-ins, which you all have heard of in the Greensboro lunch counters. And then I don't know if you all are familiar with the cases in the Supreme Court right now, but Dorothy is going to talk to us about that. So we're going to go from the 60s to 2025, where we've been, where we are, where are we going. And then I think it's relevant because of the case that we just had happen last week. I just think there's so much happening that's exciting. And it's a good time that we're still dealing with the same issues. That's what's bothersome, right, y'all? Like we're
That's right.
still dealing. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of both of my guests. And then we'll start off with Van, who will tell us about himself and how he, got involved and what has been his involvement since. And then we'll go right to Dorothy from there. So, very quickly, Van Gilmer, and let me say, I know Van from a Thursday night session that I hop on. There's a few other people on here from that session too. And we have been meeting since the George Floyd murder. And every Thursday night, there's a discussion, a community discussion on race. And it originates out of California, and it's a co-ed and interracial exchange. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll be glad to add you, give you your name to Stephen Barnes, who hosts that. But anyway, so Van Gilmer was among the first persons to be involved in the sit-ins at the Woolworth lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina in the 60s. That was 65 years ago, y'all. Here we are, still having these same discussions. The movement spread throughout the nation and ultimately resulted in opening of establishments throughout the country as old Jim Crow laws were finally removed. It also began his lifelong involvement in working for equal justice for all people. Though his chosen profession was an architect for the United States Navy Department, he also served many years as an EEO officer. I'm sorry, equal employment opportunity officer. And after his first retirement, he accepted a position as music director at the Baha'i House of Worship for the North American continent, located in Wilmette, Illinois. I'm sure he's going to talk to us about living in Wilmette. And Dan continues to be involved in civil rights and racial justice movements with his current involvement as a member of RAIN, which is Race Awareness in the North Shore, and Heroes, Healing Everyday Racism in Our Schools, and as a board member of TIBA, Together is Better. So let me tell you about Dorothy real quick, and then we'll go ahead and turn it over to Dan. So Dr. Nair is a seasoned expert in public health, manufacturing, management, economic and workforce development, and behavior change communications in disadvantaged communities. With over 40 years of professional experience, she has dedicated her life to eliminating poverty and fostering environmental justice, guided by her belief that creating wealth is essential to eradicating disparities in income, health, housing, and education. Her mission spans from Congo Square in New Orleans to Congo River in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Her career reflects a steadfast commitment to uplifting vulnerable populations, including youth, refugees, prisoners, and factory workers. Um, Dr. Nair she is a dynamic, a serial entrepreneur. She founded Loves Babies in Johannesburg, South Africa, which she'll tell us about. That's what she was doing when I met her in South Africa in 2012 or 2013. I don't know, a long time ago. and collaborating with hundreds of community groups securing funding from the World Bank. The initiative garnered international recognition, including a feature on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So from 1998 to 2016, she lived and worked in more than 20 African countries, building expertise in community development, job creation, manufacturing, workforce development, and enterprise innovation. Fast forward, she finds herself back in the United States and at the center of a major lawsuit for civil rights, which she'll talk to us about. And I want everybody to be familiar with this case because although it's happening in Louisiana, it has national implications for all of us. And Dorothy will fill us in on that. Dr. Nairne's academic achievements include a PhD in International Affairs and Economic Development from Clark Atlanta University, following her education at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And she can be found these days in Napoleonville, Louisiana, cooking flavorful spicy meals, attending MMA classes. She's a boxer, y'all. Wait till she tells you about that. Or enjoying time with her three adult children. So join me in welcoming both of our guests to our platform. And I'm going to step aside and turn it over to you, Van, first, and Dorothy. I'll just leave you on camera with Van, and you guys can interact with one another. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. So thank you both. It's yours. It's all yours, Van. Okay, we can't hear you again. We can't hear you, Van.
Let's see. Am I on yet?
Yes. Now we hear you. Hear you
Lord,
loud and clear.
that doesn't mean anything. You could go off again.
We'll let you know. Don't worry.
I never have all this trouble, but it's almost like these days. Um, when I lived in Greensboro. I grew up in Greensboro, but I'll say for those who don't know me, I also grew up to be a full-grown Black man during a time when it was segregated. America was segregated. And so I learned a lot of things that I'm still messing with. A lot of things like being comfortable speaking up. Just a lot of things. And I had no idea that participating in the sit-ins would be as it has been. I was thinking about the timing. What we know, for those of you who know anything at all about sit-ins in America, 1960 is the year that is the historic year. It's the year that 4 Black students at North Carolina A&T State University in Greensboro went downtown and sat at the Woolworth's lunch counter. I was thinking even during the night about, now I've given presentations about this a number of times, but I've never had the timing just right. They went in February, on February the 1st of 1960. Now, I was involved in the sit-ins in 1963, 62 and 63. So there's a big gap there. 1960 to 1963, before there was any action at all. So the sit-ins received its notoriety at first because college students, they were freshmen, 4 freshmen. 2 of them lived in Greensboro with me, so I knew them well. They were just ahead. But we generally knew everybody in Greensboro because we all went to the same school. It was segregated time in America. But I was trying to think, well, we didn't cross paths sitting in at the lunch counter. They started the movement, and the movement became very well known, but it took a time, quite a time, really. 1963, 64 were the times that things started opening up. Now, one of the things I think about, which kind of affects all of us, if you might not be nearly as old as I am, but I had 20 years of processing segregation, and I was comfortable processing it. It was the way things were. Uh, I could only go if I were going to leave Greensboro on the bus. I could only go to the back part of the bus station and get a ticket. If I wanted to go anywhere on a train, it was a big building, but I couldn't go in the front. We always went around to the side. There was a little room on the side. Well, this was life. Um, it was regular. And so think, I don't even know if I wished I could do those things. It just seemed like that was the way things were. Then came, I think the light was that they had the nerve to sit at the lunch counter. And once they did it, it became nationally known. And so it got the attention of several key people. In my case, it was James Farmer. James Farmer was the president of the Congress of Racial Equality, called at that time CORE. It doesn't exist anymore. But James Farmer came to Greensboro, and he sat with about 5 or 6 of us. And we were, because we were all from Greensboro, and he talked about specifically being nonviolent. So it was a nonviolent movement. Martin Luther King came there. Is my speaker messing with me? Martin Luther King came there, and he just wanted to see what was happening. He didn't take any leadership role. He just came and he spoke at Bennett College, and it was inspirational, but it really didn't have anything to do with the sit-in movement that was going on in Greensboro. So the sit-in movement went from 1960, 61, it kind of died. 62, it came up again. 63, it was hot. And hot meant we were going downtown and being arrested over and over again. Now, being arrested over and over again began to get the attention of Greensboro, and not because we were Black people wanting to have equality, but because they were having a hard time managing hundreds of students that they wanted to arrest. They arrested us, but they didn't have anywhere to put us. They took us to armories. They took us at the end to the polio hospital. That was a building that had closed down because they'd found the cure to polio and it was in no use, and so they put us in there. The students, and we had only a couple of students who did the negotiating, but we stayed in jail up to 4 or 5 days. Well, staying in jail was not with bars. They put us in a place, and we stayed there for 4 or 5 days, not able to do anything but be crowded in very large wards that were used for the jail. Police guarding us. They had to feed us. Um, it became tough for Greensboro because now didn't even have they didn't have nearly enough police to guard us 24 hours. So that meant people had to work overtime, but then they had to keep on working overtime. And this was what began to bother the city. It didn't have enough policemen to take care of hundreds of students. It couldn't keep feeding hundreds of students. We didn't leave jail, but the adults wanted us to.
So Van, can I ask you?
Yeah.
From that point, and if we go fast forward to today, we hear so many people asking questions, saying things like, oh, we've been through this before. And you're talking about in 1962, 1963, 1964. So if we look at 2025, almost 2026, have we, and I guess it depends on who's we, been through this before? So knowing youth as we are, knowing older people as we are, knowing children as we are in 2025, have we been through this before? Like you have?
No, I taught my children some stuff, but my children who are in their 50s only know about this, not the sit-ins. What they know about is the transition from segregation to integration. They got caught up in the school thing. The NAACP, they had, now everybody had to be bused. And so in the area that I lived at that time was Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. But we were living in a neighborhood that was predominantly white. The neighborhood we lived in at the time of busing was a neighborhood that had already been designated a white neighborhood. So, we started learning, sure, all over the country, there have been areas that are designated white, but now they're white, and it's very hard to change them to anything else. Designated black, hard to change them to anything else. So we should have black communities and white communities. Well, in our area, it turned out the black people with kids had younger kids. And those kids were being bused to just outside of Washington, D.C., but to a black school, Owens Road Elementary School. It was full of black kids. It had nothing. They were picking up my kids early in the morning. And so we said, and we're passing a Cadillac school, maybe a Mercedes school, a Tesla school. We're passing by a school in our neighborhood that had everything. And at that time, having computers was unreal. No black schools had computers. This school had computers. So my wife started working at the school as a teacher. And then she reclaimed it was a hardship on us to have to wait for a bus to come, to have to be there to pick, for the bus to let off our children. And so our children were able to go to that school. That's when they felt real discrimination, kind of like old discrimination. because now they're in a white school. Nobody was bad particularly, but those are the things that they remembered. Busing. That continued even into high school. That's all they had. But my son had being stopped by the police all the time. So, you know, the relationship to, well, I never had to be, well, I did have to be scared of the police in Greensboro because I was stopped all the time. That was because we weren't supposed to be out of our own black neighborhood, hardly. So there were things that affected my kids who are adults now who still remember, as Kamala Harris remembered and said when she was running for president the first time. She talked about being bused. My son has never gotten past being stopped by policemen. That continues. Younger children haven't had any of this, though. I mean, it's kind of accidental if they have it, or it's here, you know, it's not so regular. So I'm not sure what children do, what very young people do, who are thinking we are integrated. You know, I think many of us who are older, we've gone through a number of things, but we also have grown to accept that we could go most anywhere we want to go. So we haven't had that pressure of being kept out of something. And I'm not sure what we would do right now if it was it. At the time when I was demonstrating, we could not go to any place. We couldn't, downtown theaters were closed to us. If we went, we had to go a block away and come in the back and go up the steps and go to the top balcony. Well, you know, it was regular, but it was if you got on the bus, you had to go to the back of the bus. Those are things very young folk have not experienced at all. I think what they've experienced is what feels like integration. So I'm not sure what they do now, what they do now. But then it was unreal to think that you could go into some stores downtown. It was unreal to think that you could get a McDonald's burger. We couldn't even get a McDonald's burger. And you know, when you say it now, people say, "Oh, what? Anybody can go to McDonald's." No. In segregated America, it was pretty strict. It was very strict. We stayed on our side, they stayed on their side. We hardly went on their side unless we had to go somewhere and had to drive through it. We had no friends. We had no significant jobs with white people. So it was quite a different kind of thing.
I have a question for you, Van. Two questions. One, I put it in the chats. You being arrested, do you know how many times? And did it ever have an impact on you professionally, particularly when you enlisted in the Navy? Did you have to explain, you know, were you considered a rebel rouser?
Well, when I went to the Navy, I worked for the Navy, not because it was something I had a vision of doing. My degree is in architectural engineering, but I had not thought about working in an all-white office. That came, though, when there was affirmative action plans beginning to be put in place. And so now white human resources managers and other folk were coming to A&T specifically to get a Black person. Didn't want to get but one or two, but to get one, just to have it on, to have one. So what I ended up doing is first going to the Navy, to work for the Navy Department, to not go to Vietnam. 1960s was a high Vietnam. Many of my classmates got killed because if you didn't go to college, you're prime for being recruited. So many friends ended up going to Vietnam, and many did not come back. I didn't have to go through that, but when I went to work for the Navy Department, one of the things they hadn't thought through is what to do with me after they got me. So they hired me. I went there, and the normal process is they have people who will take these new engineers for a couple of months until they can get up enough money to get an apartment or to get a place to live. Well, they hadn't thought about that when they got me. So nobody wanted me. Oh, no, you got a Black boy? Oh, no, we're not going to have him. So then they didn't know what to do. So I had to go to Washington, D.C. to live with a cousin until I could find a place I was working 20 miles south of Washington, D.C. I just happened to have a relative in Washington, D.C.
Because essentially what you're saying is no one would rent to you, right?
No, nobody would rent to me. And then I did find apartment. I'm going to get married. I'm going to be living in the area. I went to this big complex of wonderful looking apartments called Wilson Bridge Apartments, just outside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. And I thought, wonderful. And the manager took my application. She said, we don't have anything right now, but we'll call you when we do. And they called me in January of 1968. That's the passing of the Fair Housing Act, to tell me they have an apartment. Now, I'm not thinking about, the reason I didn't get it in the beginning was really because I was Black. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking they just didn't have it. I get there, so she calls me and tells me I have an apartment. I go, she says, come to the office first. I go into the office. We sat down, and this was a woman manager, a white woman manager, who said to me, now, Mr. Gilmer, I want to let you know you're going to be the first Black person that we will have here. And if you should have any problems, just call the office, and we'll work with you. So I said, okay, all right. So went to my apartment. I stayed in my apartment. I came and went. People didn't talk to me. People avoided me. But I had an apartment. My neighbors across the door, their door was in front of my door. They called the police one evening and told them we were having an orgy in my apartment. I had a lot of guests. So I opened, they had to come and walk all through the apartment. This is the kind of stuff that's almost daily stuff back in the day. Now, it may happen now, but back in the day, it was some scary stuff. Because you didn't know what police were going to do to you. You didn't know if even you told them the truth, which I would tell, that they would say something else. Right. So affirmative action took a long time to even take hold because you had to have all this other stuff as well, not just the job, a place for a person to live, a place for a whole lot of other stuff. So that was slow.
Even school for your kids. But let me fast forward you a little bit too. You've talked about fair housing, affirmative action. Tell us about the first time you voted, and then we'll transition over to Dorothy, and then we'll come back to you. Do you
Mm-hmm.
remember the first time you voted, or what was the discussion about voting in your household? Like, talk to us about voting.
Um, no, I had to learn to vote. Um, I don't remember ever voting until was an adult. I'm, truly an adult, and I almost didn't know any of the stuff, that I'm voting for. I could know people. Who's running for president. It would have to be something big for me to know why I'm voting. So there's no incentive at the time. I don't know if there is now to try to get out there and get the right people in and to vote for the right people and to have anybody that would represent you. So I voted. Um, and when I voted in white world. I mean, I was not around a lot of black people. So friends were difficult. Even fellow employees were difficult. A quick story is I went to a party. It was at a white coworker's apartment, and it was packed with people. But I was only black person. My wife and I were the only black people there. And one woman comes up to me and she says, "I love Urethra." Urethra? She must be talking about Aretha. That's the kind of stuff. It's just constant. I don't know that would happen now, but they were trying to be nice. My wife and I poked each other when we heard it, and we just laughed it off and went on, and didn't try to make any, just it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah, I think it still happens.
Yeah.
Miss Dorothy, talk to us
Yes.
about how you got to, and we'll come back and then just jump in as you wish and interact with Dorothy too. Questions because Dorothy's situation is very interesting. So talk to us, Dorothy, about the cases, and I'm going to ask you to assume that most people on this call may or may not know. So how did you come from South Africa and find yourself back in Louisiana in the middle of such a primary case?
So I'll start somewhere in the middle. So I live in Assumption Parish in Louisiana, which is an hour and a half from New Orleans and an hour from Baton Rouge. So I am on the bayou, literally. So if I look across the street, I can see the bayou from my house. If I look to the right, I can see sugarcane fields. This is the land where my mother's people were enslaved. So we are surrounded by just this rural Louisiana. So, and if you know anything about Louisiana, you know that Louisiana is number last. That's a South Africanism. We are number last with anything that's good. So if you look at education, you look at poverty, highest. So Louisiana is 32% Black. We know that from the census that was conducted in 2020. So I moved here to help my mom, who at the time, so I was born and raised in Wisconsin. So proud Badger. My mother, like so many others, went due north and found her life there and married a good Jamaican engineer. And that was my father. When he died, she came back to the bayou because she wanted to go to the biggest little church on the bayou, which is where my people, after slavery, built a church, and it's still standing next to where I live now. So to take care of my mother took me from South Africa. So I lived and worked in South Africa for about 20 years with U.S. Agency for International Development. You know that agency that Elon Musk put in the wood chipper? That agency that we saw the numbers of HIV climb down because of US government funding. So every day I am scared to pick up the telephone. I've worked from Angola to Zimbabwe and all sorts of countries in between, looking at how we can build up people, Black people. I want to live where it's good for Black people. And it's not here in Louisiana, that's for sure. So while living here, I would ask my neighbors, like, okay, it's election day, I heard. So when do we vote? And my neighbor next door would say, I don't know when you vote because you're in a different district from me. So it's like we got this little tiny community that's all Black and we're split. How? So I get a phone call in 2021, just after the census findings were released. And they were like, will you? And I said, yes, I will. I will absolutely, yes, participate in this because how do you get anything done? So I will be 60 next year. And I can tell you every year, all my life, we came to visit my mother's people on the bayou. I had lots of friends from when I was a small girl, and they're living in the same trailers, same trailers. They're living in the same conditions. Nothing here has changed. If anything, it's regressed because now, on top of it all, we have mass incarceration. So just seeing all these issues here in Louisiana made me jump in and do what I could to first eliminate poverty, which seems to be a difficult thing. So with all my experience, all my credentials, all of the things that I've learned everywhere, like I said, we're surrounded by sugarcane waste and sugarcane. So it's like, oh, well, this is what we do in South Africa with sugarcane waste. We take the material and we process it into drinking or cups, forks, knives, spoons, straws, to-go containers, which are biodegradable and better than using single-use plastic. Can we do that here on the bayou? It's not being done in Louisiana. No. So could I get funds to do that? I'll tell you right now, no. And one woman even said, or one man said to me, and I presented this to the local council here in Assumption Parish. And they're looking at me, they listening to me, they looking at me, they listening to me. And the only question they had was, little lady, what your husband think of that? Oh, this is gonna be a tough one, huh? So unless I took the sugarcane waste and agreed to make doors that I could then sell to the prison. So it's like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to make money off people's pain and Black people's pain at that. So it's been really hard to live here. And the only glimmer of hope that I've had has been participating within this case. So I'm on two cases. One was started with Robinson versus Louisiana, where we were looking at the congressional districts. We have 6 congressional districts in Louisiana. And if you do the math, and if the lines are drawn in such a way, they had us all, or them, I wasn't in a congressional Black district, right? They had the district going from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. So all the Black people were in one group. Even though we are across the state, you can drive from Shreveport to New Orleans, and everywhere along the way, you're going to see Black people. So we've sued the state to redraw the lines, and we won to redraw the lines. So now we have 2 districts where Black people we can elect somebody who represents our interests. So now that I'm in District 2, I can tell you what's been happening. We've got all the telephone lines in this little area that are being replaced because we have hurricanes, of course. And so after the hurricane, you see these little electricity poles all to the side. It's like, they look like toothpicks. Stop. Can we just get some strong poles? Troy Carter got us some poles. So this is Biden money, though. And so Trump's trying to take credit for it, of course, but this is Biden money infrastructure development money, and up and down this little bayou, they are putting up new poles so we can see. And that's the good news, that people are like, wow, so voting matters, huh? It's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, dude, it matters. It matters. And we can win. We can win when we fight. And so we had 4 amendments, and I'm jumping around a lot because I think this is very exciting. So on March 24th of this year, the 2 congressional districts that we have, including one that goes from Baton Rouge up through Louisiana to Shreveport and that whole area, and that's one district. And now we have a Black representative there who was elected last year. And so there was a group of people, and they called themselves non-Black voters. And they came in and sued to say, you have over-relied upon the Voting Rights Act of 1965 to create this district. So it's like, huh? So we went on March 24th of this year with the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, with the ACLU, the Harvard Election Clinic, and all sorts of others. Got about 100 different lawyers who were in these cases fighting for us all. And on March 24th, the Supreme Court was just like, you know what? We're going to rehear this case in October 15th. So they reheard the case. And they're now like, what should we do? So we won't hear about the rehearing until probably June. But now the stakes are even higher. It's not just those white people in the district in Louisiana, but for the entire United States, we could very possibly lose 30%, if not more. If they redraw the lines all over the United States, we could lose 30% of the Congressional Black Caucus, including Jasmine Crockett's district, including many other districts around the United States. So the stakes are very high. What's going to happen? You know, we will find out what's going to happen in June. So if it's before, we'll see, but probably we'll find out in June. But there's a second congressional case, or second case, that's called Nairne, my last name, hello, versus Louisiana, where we're looking at the legislative and senatorial districts and redistricting. And just like the congressional case, the federal judge said, yeah, yes. So we had to testify in court to say, like, this is what is going on. This is how it's been. This is what it looks like. And this is how it is for Black people in Louisiana right now, not in 1960. We're talking about right now. So ain't nothing changed around here. Nothing. So it's like, how do we make that change? So what's keeping me going is just, you know, having community, of course, but also trying to still do whatever we can to eliminate poverty. There are people who are steps from the plantation, steps from just Jim Crow kind of tenement farming, steps from there, but they don't even have those opportunities now because it doesn't take much to yield sugarcane now. It's one person and a big machine and someone driving the truck. So people don't even have those jobs anymore. So it's it's heart-wrenching. And then we're here adjacent to Cancer Alley. So it's like people are sick. I mean, just the number of funerals reminds me of South Africa in the heyday of HIV, actually. So it's like, I don't want those memories. I want memories of prosperity. I want memories, you know, so looking forward, and we got some more good years here too, where we need to have some prosperity here and now, right now. So the fight is eternal. The fight is going on, and we are ready for it. We were prepared for it. And so to do everything that we can and, you know, be kinder and gentler to each other. That's what I see happening.
So what's the, I know you're deeply involved. What is the involvement of the local folks? Are they seeing the importance of it? And I put in the chats, I read online before we came on, and it said that if this case falls, if we're not successful, and I'm saying we, because it's all of us, we will look to lose 19, up to 19 Black and brown folks uh, in the Congress. So it's power, it's huge. It impacts all of us. So what's the pushback you're getting? Are you finding a lot of white support in your parish, or they're like, because basically this is all coming down to one side is saying that your side is saying it's a necessary change that needs to happen, which makes sense. Like, why are Black people, if you're living all across the state, that's just ridiculous the way you described it. And then what the Calais white plaintiffs or non-Black plaintiffs are saying is that it's unconstitutional because they see it as, racial gerrymandering. So where are people coming down on all of this?
So I've got a few stories because where's Calais? I'm here. It's like, look, I'm a plaintiff on this case, and we stand together. Where are they? I have no shame in this game. I stand for my rights. I stand on my principles. I stand on my ancestors' shoulders. Where are they? I couldn't tell you who is
Calais.
Philip
All it
Calais.
says online is non-African American. It doesn't say
Exactly.
no
Where
name.
are they? Because
Right.
we are together, but where are they? And the wild thing in October was that the New York Times did a report on a story on them and called up some of the plaintiffs because they're there. You can do research and find their names. Well, some of them were like, I didn't sign up for that. So it's like, well, is that legal? But it didn't stop the case. And the Supreme Court is going to do what they try to do. But I tell you what, Ketanji is ours. That's a masterful human being who's there fighting. So I didn't get in the court the second time in October, but in March, it was just like every time she spoke, I could feel myself elevate. But Janae Nelson, who is with the Legal Defense Fund, she's masterful as well. And they were saying, this woman right here, she is embodying Thurgood Marshall. So we are in good hands. And it's all our hands because we're in each other's hands. I'm in Helen's hands and she's in my hands and Shakira's hand is up and we are together. But I want to say this quickly when you say, well, what's happening? We had 4 amendments that this try to be Trump governor that we got here in Louisiana tried to pass through on a random Saturday in March. Imagine 4 amendments on a random Saturday, not a billboard up, no text messages saying, come and remember to vote. So he's trying to do this. And we very quietly get out there and vote. Get out there and vote. No on a 4 amendments. Those amendments, all 4 slapped down. 65%. Yeah. People came out, and I tell you, when we went on voting day on a Saturday at a little school in Amityville, this brother had a gold grill. And he's like, he was like coming straight from the club, straight to vote. However, you got to make it happen because we know how to spell democracy. So
that's right.
We are, and we had a little position in October for a school board representative. We had the signs up in front of Black houses like mine or in front of white houses like them. Guess who won? The sister won by 79%. So if we build a factory and people got jobs now, imagine how the narrative will change because people want to see the change and they want to be the change because we the change, y'all. We are. And we stand on Van's. I mean, we don't sit on your lap, Van, but we stand on your shoulders.
Go ahead, Shakira. You got a question? And Van, hop in. You're muted again. But Shakira, what's your question, babe? Hi, Shakira.
Hi. So first of all, I wanted to just say, Brother Van, I don't know, did you run into a young woman named Joanne Mangum when you were doing the sit-in from North Carolina? They were from Creedmoor.
Unmute yourself. Okay,
no, I didn't. No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, that was what my aunt. She was one of the people sitting in at the Woolworths counter. Anyway,
but it was hundreds. There were hundreds of us.
Yeah.
Hundreds of us, and it's just interesting that it was students.
Yeah, young people.
It was students, and adults. I never said that. Adults, like my mother, uh, decided she was going to get in this.
Mm.
Toward the end, shoot, we were marching downtown, and she was getting ready to hit the police. I said, wait, no, don't hit him. Because we were being nonviolent. She had gotten so mad at her life, I guess. Her parents were sharecroppers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So she
But
had been trying to do better, but felt that there's nothing to do. And then toward the end of the sit-in movement, adults filed in, including NAACP. NAACP also
yeah.
stayed out. It stayed out, and I could understand, but at the time not.
Mm-hmm.
The reason they were out was that the mayor and the president of NAACP had at least conversation. So they usually could trade a little something. If if you get those kids out of that school, we can give you some money.
Yeah.
That was the kind of mess going on in the background.
Right.
And so adults stayed out of it. And then as they started to see the sun rising, here they came. And that just helped us.
Yeah.
Because now it was Greensboro. It was not, as they said, those students from all over the place coming messing up our city, making our people unhappy. That's kind of crap that was going on. So
yeah, young people are often at the forefront. But I wanted to. I had a thought about the enterprise aspect of this, but then Helen, you raised a point about I can't remember something you said that made me think about the fact that you asked about allies, and it occurred to me that what we've witnessed in this last election is that Black voters made the difference in almost every election where Democrats won. What not almost, I mean every election, Black voters made the difference because white folks still, predominantly vote for the Republican candidates. So that made me wonder about the national and statewide Democratic Party there in Louisiana. The Democrats ought to be the ones that are natural allies to Black voters, given that we make the difference in every election. Mikey Sherrill won here in New Jersey with 91% of the Black vote. So we know how important that is. So I would love you to speak to that, and also the whole issue around enterprise development. I'm wondering if maybe there isn't a way, if you can't get local funding like community development block grant money or anything like that, you can't get, or EDA money. If you can't get that, I wonder, would it be possible to draw in money from around the country? There's this, the Tulsa. There's the Tulsa group. I think I think they call themselves the Tulsa Realty Group. They've pulled in money from around the country. The brother who is Isaac Hayes' son down in Georgia, who is pulling in money from around the country, doing a Black media platform. So I'm wondering if there isn't a way for us to pull in money from around the country to do these enterprise initiatives, because I do believe it is definitely going to be economics that pulls us out of this. I mean, it's economics is the reason why we're all here sitting speaking English with no accent. They pulled us in to develop their economy. So I'd love to hear your comments on those two things.
Absolutely, yes. Last year, I write grants. I had 2 grants written, all set to go for the Environmental Protection Agency, looking at creating a factory in New Orleans that was called Solutions, that could especially create jobs for people coming out of prison so that we could manufacture eco-friendly Mardi Gras throws. Because if nothing else happens, those floats are going to roll. So come every Mardi Gras. Next year is February 17th. So that's one. That would have been $20 million, 177 jobs. And then we got Sweet Solutions here in New Orleans, or on the bayou here. And fun fact, 72 acres for sale where my people were enslaved. Wow. That land is not just for me, it's for we. And that land is, right not far from here, it used to be called Little Texas Plantation. So to have that where we have a flat structure, because if we're all tired of oligarchs, we're not tired of co-ownership. That's friendly. That's what we need, so that people can pull themselves up and walk with pride, and then take it to South Africa. My heart is partly there. Take it to the Congo. I'll be going to the Congo in December. My heart is there, because we can have different models. So this time of resetting is absolutely what you're talking about. And then putting it in place where, you don't have to be basketball wife, to have an enterprise, especially if it's something that everybody uses. So that's where we are, and that's what we're going to do. And I wrote down the Tulsa Realty Group and whoever else, because I am knocking on doors. Had a meeting with my U.S. representative on Thursday. So yeah, we will leave no stone unturned and then take it all over, because if we pull ourselves up and out, then we won't be so dependent on anybody. We can depend on each other. Yeah, because you know how people walk on payday. It's a different type of walk on payday than any other day. So we want everybody to be well. What about all those Black women who are suddenly unemployed from federal jobs, from USAID, all of those places? We got some smart people out here who've got solutions for all of us. So I am so excited. Yes, self-sufficiency.
Let me ask you, Dorothy, was your mother, I know your mom has since passed since you got back to the States. Was she alive to see you be a plaintiff in this matter?
No, she wasn't. She wasn't. Yeah. But she told me so many stories, including Democracy. She and her father learned how to spell democracy together so that they could go and register to vote, and then we're turned back. So it's like, okay, all right, we know how to spell it. All of us can spell it. So we are, we're not turning back. I feel her, and they are buried right next door. I can look out the window and see their mausoleums, and yeah, I'm in the right place. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. My assignment, I take it wholeheartedly and run with it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I dropped links in the chat to articles involving Dorothy. And one, it's really nice. It walks you through some stuff with her house and her family, and check it out. Van, I wanted to ask you when you were talking. So, you guys sat at the lunch. Thank you, Miss Shakira. Love you, girl. So when you guys were sitting at the lunch counters, what was the overall goal? The overall goal, I'm guessing, was integration or access or what have you. And if you had it to do again, first of all, was that the focus? And if you had to do it again, would that still be the focus?
I don't know. It was hard. It was hard in the beginning to just get people to do it. For the 4 guys went down, but I think only because of news did. And let me quickly tell you this news story. The 4 were walking downtown, and they stopped in a little store, and there was a Jewish guy. This little store was called Ralph John's. He bought whatever any Black guy, college student, young man would want. And you couldn't get it anywhere else. So these 4 stopped in, but they just stopped in to get themselves together to go on downtown. And they told him what they were going to do. They were going to sit at the lunch counter, they said. And they left, and he called the newspaper, a friend at the newspaper, and said, I'm just going to tell you this. Go to the Woolworths. Something getting ready to happen at the Woolworths. And that picture, couple of pictures, hit the news that night. They did it in the daytime. By nighttime, there were these high dare, some black boys had a nerve to go into Woolworths, a 5 and a dime store, Woolworths lunch counter, and sit down and think they were going to get food. But it kept high. It kept high for some years. Now,
Before you go on, what was the college's response to you all doing that? Were they angry that you all were leading this protest? And there, because obviously you all were affiliated with
basically,
A&T.
basically angry. Um, well, adults were. They might have deep inside wanted something like this to happen, but they did not want their young folk going downtown messing with the big guys. And you know, the city was often trying to negotiate with the president of the college to see if he could call us back, get us out, you know. But and he might have wanted to, but he didn't have any say. Doing it was I don't know. It was not anything any of us had ever done. First of all, breaking the law. I mean, we just never thought about really breaking the law. Also, all over, we had been taught our place. And you know, when you think about it, you wonder, how could we have accepted that? But it was it. That was it. And so getting people to do it was hard. We had a couple of teachers at Bennett College for Women, Bennett, and nobody from A&T. A graduate student from A&T who were encouraging, and they kept us going. But getting more people was hard. Getting anybody to even think about joining it was hard in the beginning. And that might be why there's that gap, which isn't documented. It's not fully documented yet. We've been celebrating. I was invited back to North Carolina A&T February the 1st of this year for the 65th anniversary. But even there, they know very little about it. You know, so I was being interviewed by students. They were wondering what was the motivation. And I don't know what the motivation was. It wasn't you're big time if you're doing it. That wasn't it. It was you had to decide you're gonna actually, it was break the law. And the law was so stern at the time. I mean, it was truly black and white. And we didn't cross. You know, I tell people even today, the black people we had our own white people running us. They usually were fair. They usually had straight hair. They usually had graduate degrees. And we did what they said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was the black community of Greensboro. They even have a place they stayed. It was Bimbo Road in Greensboro, Bimbo Road. And we would, if anybody ever came to visit us, we'd take people down Bimbo Road to show them some of the houses black people have. So that, you know, they were kind of like our white people. You know, they were in charge. So we didn't have much to encourage us. The school did not back us. I didn't mention that Jesse Jackson was there, and his name is not even associated with the sit-ins. He wasn't an active person.
It wasn't. Wow.
He was a president of the student body in '64. And all I know is that he showed up and he prayed while we were in jail.
So he wasn't getting his head bashed in and ketchup squeezed on him and
No,
all
no,
that
no,
nonsense.
no. There's a big rally out in front of the polio hospital. Cameras from all over now. I don't know what actually would motivate us to have done it, because there weren't prizes along the way. You didn't get thank yous. I missed exam. I actually stayed at A&T a year and a half longer, and that was because I missed final exams. And if my grades weren't good enough to pass without doing it, I would have to wait another year before I could get the course, because it wasn't offered every quarter. I mean, that was the nature of a black college. I mean, and then they offered stuff once a year. You miss it, you delayed a year. So was not much to keep us going, except James. When I said James Farmer came in, to know that somebody nationally known at that time would come in and talk with us and tell us how to try to be nonviolent. We even stopped traffic on Interstate 85. That was one of the demonstrations. We all went to the highway and went all over it. So we did a lot of stuff, but after a while, it became, we're going to have to do whatever it takes to get something out of this, because it moved very slowly. And I'm not sure when in history of sit-ins it will show that period, that it would still keep showing 1960. But I was in jail in 1963 and 64. So it was a long time. I think the more people that became involved were becoming involved because it became something big time to go to the church, sing, and get yourselves ready and walk downtown silently and come back and then demonstrate at a lot of places. So they had to arrest a whole lot of people to keep us from doing it. And we could see no benefit from it for a while, for a long while. I see that Woolworth said in 1960 that by the summer of 1960 they had integrated. But you know how they integrated? They took one of the guys in the kitchen and said, "Put your street clothes on and come and sit at the counter." And they said they had opened, but they had not opened. because we
For a
still
while.
sitting, we still was sitting in, but that was just, I can't figure out the motivation.
Right.
We had no powerful people drumming up students to participate.
Mhm.
It just, I don't know. I think maybe pulling the curtain back just a little bit and seeing it, said, yeah, maybe I'll try it. And that had to go on for a long time.
Mr. Gilmer,
It came down to money. It came down to money.
That's
Mr.
pretty
Gilmer,
standard that people hop on once all the fanfare began, but they don't take the risk. Like Dorothy took a risk, you took a risk.
Mm.
Most people wait for other people to take the risk, and then when it's like, oh, okay, it's safe now, so I'll
Yeah,
hop on.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
And we know that things in hindsight get more attention than they did when they were happening. Like we know that Martin Luther King became much more popular after he passed away than he was during, and he caught a whole lot
yeah.
of pushback and flack. So for you to say that your mother was out there with you, I'm like, that's impressive.
Oh, well,
So I'm thinking she's
she
saying,
was a
"What?
mad
Can you
woman. That
believe
was a
that?"
mad black woman. She all of a sudden became a mad black woman in downtown Greensboro. And I had to hold her.
no, what's interesting about that is that I think your mother probably represented a lot of the pent up anger that
Yes, yes,
generated the actions that you and your colleagues took.
yes.
Or, I mean, it's kind of epigenetic in that, all of that anger and rage was sitting inside of us, waiting to take on the actual, the action
Mm,
that prompted the changes in the laws and in the reality that we were living in. I mean, I'm thinking about the fact that, Johnson passed, it was the Voting Rights Act and then the Civil Rights Act. Am I right in that order? In
mm,
in, in 63, 64, 64,
mm-hmm.
60.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So it just took, that rage bottled up and is what promulgated you. But my question is this: they talked about and I know that people were doing these things in small numbers all around the country. I have a sister
Yeah.
friend in Oklahoma City, and who she was sitting in among the people in Oklahoma who were sitting in on the lunch counters. But my question is, I know that at some point they were training young people how to take the abuse that was, put on them when they were sitting at those counters. I know, the white folks gathered around them to intimidate them and,
Mm-hmm.
throw ketchup and mustard and the hot water and coffee and all that other kind of stuff. Were you among the people who were training them how to do?
No, no, I didn't. I didn't. We,
No, no,
even if that went on, I was unaware of it. It was like a wheel rolling like this. You almost you were doing the same thing over and over again. We always, though, started at Providence Baptist Church, and we sang. We had people talk. Uh, there would be where we'd say, "This is nonviolent." We would march in twos, and we had people who marched on at the edge of the walk, kind of like guards along
yeah.
the way to keep people in line. We were completely organized. It was hard for me to even think about how we were so organized.
So did was
But
that kind of
we quietly walked from the campus practically. Providence is right off campus, down all the way to the middle of town. We didn't try to do anything, just walk down and then come back. And then at other times it was to be arrested.
mm, mhm.
So
Well,
I don't
thank
know where I thought
thank
I
you
was
all
going
for doing
today,
it.
but I had to go get my t-shirt.
Oh
I'm
no.
like, I don't know why I didn't think to put this on.
Yeah, that's
So I'm
that's
actually born in 1960 when all this is happening. So it's
Oh
like,
my
wow,
Lord.
I know.
Oh God.
so much
So
to
let's
learn.
talk about where we are today.
And I see
Because I,
Pamela put Bimbo Road. Does that mean, Pamela, you know about Bimbo Road?
you do, Pam. Are you from New Orleans, Pam? I mean, are you from Greensboro, Pamela?
I'm from Durham, but I spent a lot of time in Greensboro growing up. And I was born in 62, so.
Look, we're all telling on ourselves.
I know.
but but here we are, in 2025, having the same discussion all over again. And
Very scary.
I
Very scary.
but I have to say, yeah, it is scary. It is scary. And I'm going to ask you both, like Dorothy, what are you seeing? Because we talk about, our ancestors and having the resilience of our ancestors and things of that nature. Do we really? So when you see what the efforts that you're doing out there in New and I keep saying New Orleans, but it is all of Louisiana is not just New Orleans. And Louisiana, are you seeing young people engaged, excited, involved in it, or are they feeling like they have a dog in the fight? And man, what do you think? I mean, do both of you guys, do you think that we have what it takes? Do you see in us now, man, what you saw in your peers back in 1960?
I'm perhaps in the wrong place to see it. I'm I'm living in a very predominantly white area, and we have only a few black students. What scares me is that we have learned also, we, us who are black, have learned stuff like you move up in the world. And moving up in the world means moving to a place where there's almost no black people. Uh, acting more white than black. I still run into people who it bothers me. I can go and I'm in a place where it's uppity, but I'm the only black person, and I'm not uppity. But I might be invited to a reception at a bank, and I know who the people are that they would, but I'll see a black person, and my inner self wants to connect. So I'm kind of hovering around trying to get to where we can see each other. And I said, I'm going to honor if you want to be over there by yourself. But when I see him, I just want to say,
A head nod, right?
hey, thinking,
No acknowledgement.
so I just let him go. Just let him go. He's with white folk.
That's so sad.
And that's a whole crew of folk that we know wherever we are. We probably know some of those folk who have arrived. I'll say kind of arrived, they think. But whatever's happening to black people is going to happen to them too. You don't arrive and be over the black folk. You're just another black folk.
Yeah.
I went to a meeting Friday morning. Now, this meeting is only white men, upper class white men. They've been the runners of this area. They invited me to join them, and I said, I'll come and see. And I decided to join them. Okay, I had no clue that they would be people I'd want on my side. Anyway, on Friday morning, guy brings a little package. He's very upset about what ICE is doing. and they're all over here. He brought this for every one of us. He said, they're snatching people off the street. Brown, just brown. They'd have to find out if they want, but they're confiscating right up here. And so people with the whistles alert everybody. They're in the area. And I think nobody here even thought we would be touched by what's going on right now. And we're very touched by it. We thought it was going to only be happening in South Side of Chicago. And it's anybody black looking, and don't be Hispanic looking, because they're going to do something to those folks. And they're mean. I mean, and you're just captured. And I think this area thought it was immune from that kind of stuff. And they're
Also,
not.
the thing you shared with me too, Van, which we have to tell everybody here, is that his neighbors, you all, they identified their doors and they let the workers in the area know.
Oh, yes. They now see, I've never lived in a place like this. And all these years I've lived, it's only been the 20 years here that I'm only realizing now that almost everybody has a nanny. And the nannies are walking babies in the morning. And I hadn't even thought about it. But here's what the white women are doing. They're going out talking to these Hispanic women saying, listen, if you think somebody's getting ready to come after you, this is my house over here, and my door. You see the door right there? It's going to be unlocked. Come in it. And then they got several of the women. They have a door at their house open for people to come in. They won't come in your house. And then yesterday, Friday, there's somebody sent around a video, and one said, we let all the workers come in our house, and we got their truck and trailer and stuff and drove it away and drove it somewhere and parked it, and then took a Uber later to get back to their house where they left the workers, and then took the workers to their trucks to go home. I said, what? I mean,
that's allyship. That's what allyship
but this
looks
is
like.
crazy stuff going on now.
Yeah. Dorothy, so I know you said the brother with the grill, he was so happy to vote. So, and I'm generous. See, here I am stereotyped because I'm assuming that he's a young person. But do you see he wasn't, okay. Do you see young people coming out to support what you're doing, or just engage in any way, NAACP meetings or anything? Are they involved?
Somewhat, but there needs to be something, because we also have the problem of people leaving. So it's very much like South Africa or any other developing country, as a state in Louisiana, where people are leaving in order to find opportunities. So those who can leave, those who have degrees, those who have professional expertise, they get out of here because there are no opportunities around this rural area, at least. So it's either people who are very old or very young. And if you're in between along that spectrum, then staying alive is your quest. So it's really hard to get people mobilized and involved. Staying out of prison is your lifestyle. So I'm doing a prison project right now, doing a media scan throughout Louisiana, looking at the criminal legal system. So it's like, okay, I've been, I don't know how many prisons these days, and I found the brothers. it's like there they are. Here you are. We miss you. We miss you. We miss you. We need you. And most of them are locked up for life in Angola or places for something that, they didn't have good representation. So poverty and not having, or going, they're still wearing the stripes in this parish at least. So it cannot be the economic development strategy is a prison system. And that's what we have. I know a sister who had these pickles that were fermented in Kool-Aid. She could not get any traction with her pickles. But guess what? She's clocking dough now because she's selling her pickles in Kool-Aid to the prison system. So it's just, it's tiring, and there's so many little nooks and crannies. You could be in environmental justice just in your parish. You could be in, but I tell you what, it's Sunday. They're having a second line now, right now. So you got to, infuse a little bit of the second line Sunday and the music within how we mobilize people, and we did that in South Africa for HIV prevention, care, treatment, and support, where we got DJs talking it up. And we changed things. So we've got to use a different kind of way to get people involved instead of, well, gentlemen, come in respectably.
Your pants up.
Let's worry about that later. Let's do some things to get people to come together now. So and change this. So I think we can. I know we can do it because I see people, feeling a little like, so if there's a job, I'd stay. I love my home. It just doesn't love me back. So we need to make Louisiana love its people the way the people love it. And now it's gumbo season because it's cold outside. We'll be cracking crawfish and having gumbo. Then let's have some gumbo rights too, and some gumbo justice and some gumbo prosperity.
Come out there and visit you in the country. So listen, there is a call in the chat for Van you to write a book, but both of you have lived exciting and productive lives. Dorothy, have you thought of writing a book? Van, are you writing a book?
I'm beginning to keep some notes because some people are talking about it. But I just said the other night to some group, I can't believe I'm still learning stuff. I'm 82. How am I still learning stuff?
That's great.
I mean, and some of the stuff is just about me.
Right.
About us. About how things were and how things are, or how I thought things were and how they are. All that stuff. We have history.
Yes.
Because I also found out we've also kept secrets.
Yeah.
We, our little group, have kept all kinds of secrets about who's. I'm finding relatives. I'm beginning to find relatives I didn't know I had, and but I found out I even have folk who knew stuff and they kept that a secret.
Isn't that amazing?
Some real good secrets.
Not shocking.
Which
Dorothy,
kind
what
of
about
it has an effect on how we act.
right.
You learn something, then you got to unlearn it and learn something new. And I keep learning as this goes. For instance, I had no idea about the sit-ins not being completely documented. Greensboro doesn't even have it completely documented. A&T doesn't even have it completely documented. And it's already history. I mean, they've already had installed counter at Smithsonian.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Trump said he was going to send that back and keep the stools.
Did he really?
Yes.
God.
Yes.
So,
But as for writing the
Dorothy,
book, yes,
are you
absolutely.
right?
I
Yeah.
am looking at economic development so my PhD is in economic development. So looking at how we can, crack this nut and eliminate poverty. And so not just from one person's story, but as a community. So I think that, there are things that we have that we can write up so that we can replicate it in different parts and different places, and then other parts of life too. Because so I've been looking at a creative placemaking approach. So it's like letting the land tell the story. What happened here on this land that sugarcane is on now, 1,000 years ago? What was it like 200 years ago? What was it like? And what could it be like in 20 years from now? Maybe because this industry, we can change the economy in this entire area. And so to tell that story as we go along, then we'll have the past, the present, and the future all together. And so, yeah, writing, I think, is essential in telling that story and all of our stories in
Yeah, your
exciting
story too,
ways.
though, your personal story, I think, and people tell me all the time, like people ask, you haven't written a book yet? Like, no. But Dorothy, just having lived and raised children in South Africa, I mean, that in itself is a story.
Yeah.
Um,
So
so I
the
bought
words
in
will
another
flow.
North, I bought in another North Carolinian. How do we say that?
Canadian, yeah.
Carolinian.
Carolinian. Dr. Willa Cofield, who is from Enfield. And we had her on, I don't know how long ago, Dr. Willa.
Oh, about
About,
4 months, I think. Yes, summer.
and
Mm.
she's written a book about, it's called The 9 o'clock, I have it here somewhere, The 9 o'clock Whistle, about her experience being involved in civil rights,
Mhm.
also in North Carolina. And you're 97?
7. Mhm.
97 years old. Check that out, man. She's older than
Wow.
you.
Wow. Well, it's so good to see you.
It's nice to see you
I
too,
might be
Beth.
able to stay a little longer.
I'm so excited to know that someone from Greensboro was going to be on.
Oh, yeah.
I thought I
A
might.
Hampton woman. All HBCUs here.
Oh,
Howard,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah,
Hampton,
I went to
Dr.
Penn.
Cofield,
Yeah.
Clark Atlanta, Dorothy, and A&T Gilmore, Van Gilmer. So this is where we're representing.
Oh,
Mm.
my.
But anyway, I'm sure you have something that you can share to this conversation, Dr. Willa. What are you
Well,
thinking?
it's just very
As
inspiring, and it's not the kind of conversation that I hear a lot. I know about some of the things that you talked about that I participated. I'm from Enfield, which is on the other side of the state. If you remember your North Carolina geography,
Uh-huh.
and it's a very small town. And we were involved in the civil rights movement, but nobody had included us. None of the historians who wrote about it, talked about it, had included Enfield. And we tried to get them to put us in their coverage, in their books and films, but nobody did. So we decided we would tell our own story. And none of us had produced a video. I had done one short piece, but we launched out. We got a little money. And first, we did a video that told the story. And in the course of doing the video, we ran into trying to get it started. We couldn't find people to help. So we started writing a book. And as it turned out, we were able to produce the video, and the book was published last winter. And so now we have our story both in film, and Helen is showing it to us in film and in print. And it has been well received, and many people have heard our story now. So I encourage you to document your story
Uh,
we, didn't recognize the importance of documenting, getting things in the paper and making pictures and all. But, we are so far removed from that time
mhm.
that we have many opportunities. Everybody, on your phone, you can just take
Yeah.
pictures and you can use them if at some point you want to do a documentary. So I was saying that this is a really wonderful conversation because we look back, and I didn't know a lot about what students did in Greensboro. I did work in Greensboro, however, in the late 60s. I worked for an agency called the Low Income Housing Development Corporation.
Wow.
And there were churches, black churches in Greensboro that were building housing units. And we worked with, there were two black architects, and I can't remember their names now, but they designed, had the units that we were trying to build. And I left and moved away, but I think those developments were built. And so somewhere in Greensboro now,
Uh,
there are the results of that really path-breaking work that happened back in the late 60s. And one of the architects designed several churches in Greensboro. He was a very young man.
yeah, I'm trying to. Well, I said I'm old. I
Not
can't
so
remember
old.
anything anymore.
You're doing very well.
but but yes,
And it's amazing in Dr. Cofield's book that did you keep journals, Dr. Cofield? Because there's no way. I mean, you remember a lot of stuff and you had a lot of pictures, which I enjoyed to tell the
Right.
story.
Well, thank you. We were able, because we were doing the film at the same time we were trying to write the book, we had to have photos for the film. So we were able to, it really, the two projects worked in tandem. We, one helped the other, and some of
Okay.
the same people were involved. For example, we had a retreat. When we first started writing, we decided we should get together and show each other what we had done. And we took a camera person along for that meeting. And the footage from that meeting became an essential part of the documentary. So, it was back and forth that we were able. But I think the real significant thing about that was, the best thing was that we did it together.
mm,
And so it wasn't just a one person kind of effort. And we supported each other. We would help each other remember things and we looked at the writing. And so it was really a very rich project. And we are still, the last book signing we had was in New York City. The Black Panthers sponsored a showing, and it was a small theater, but every seat was taken, and I'm told that some people were actually turned away.
mm.
And so there's a lot of interest in this kind of uh,
Right.
writing if you can get it together.
Yes.
And I'm sharing in the chats with you all who maybe were not a part of our show that day. I just put in the chat a link for when Dr. Cofield was on When Black Women Gather.
Yeah, thank you.
And
I
it's by
just
her
wanted
book.
to say that I so much admire the work that you're doing, Dorothy, and the ideas you have. It's in my experience, which is pretty long. I don't hear a lot of people talking about what the world could look like,
Yes.
what the future could be.
Yes.
It takes imagination and creativity and prayer and all those things, I guess. But I think we should be focusing on that. You know, what the, not, I mean, we need to look at what the world is, but what could it be?
Right.
How could we build, how could we help this new world that is on the horizon? How can we help it be born? And it just seems to me the ideas you have about economic development are so unusual and so creative and so, you know, they seem maybe not as practical as some things we know about. But that's what it takes. We've got to do the unknown and to venture off in this cliff and know that the future is going to be with us. I remember, I guess 20 years ago, there was a woman in New York City, Dr. Beryl Banfield. I'm not sure whether you ever heard of her, Helen, but in New York, she was principal of a school in the 60s, and her school was the first one to develop an African curriculum for the students, a history curriculum. But she went to Japan during the time I knew her, and when she came back, she said it was like a new world that was being born over there. The whole atmosphere was just one of growth and creativity. And the West, you know, which has had its day, that was the feeling she had. So it seems to me the ideas that you have are part of that new world. And your spirit, you know, it's just, I hope you can infect us, you know, you can just pass on this optimism and this insight that you have to other people, to our community, because we really need that kind of hope for a different kind of future. So, and I
I
Sister
am
think,
Dorothy,
honored.
I met in South Africa, and she's still that person today, just full of energy, full of ideas. I'm like, okay, tell us
yes,
about. Yeah, it is infectious, and it's what we need.
absolutely.
But I must say, Dorothy, I don't know if you wanted to respond to Dr. Cofield.
I am just, it's like if I hadn't been to church today, I have now. I am just so honored. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Because, you know, they say it's hard out here for a pimp. Huh? Pimps ain't trying to do things like what we doing. So thank you, thank you, thank
Yeah,
you.
trying to get even, first of all, white folks can't envision it. So it's an even harder sell, I'm sure, to our people. They're like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, we have to remember that our people have a history that we're very skeptical, you know, because, and we have reason to be.
Rightfully so. Yeah,
Yes,
for
when you
sure.
look at the fact that we have been denied a decent education, that we've had to struggle to just stay alive,
Yeah.
I have a lot
I
of
think we're phenomenal people. That's who we are.
absolutely,
The fact that we're
absolutely,
still here. But you know,
absolutely.
on going in the direction that you were just speaking of, Dr. Cofield, um, let us be inspired by last Tuesday when we talk about what the future is going to look like, right?
Yes.
Because, and I'm going, first of all, yes, Mamdani. I always want to change
Hmm.
the consonants in his name. But anyway, Mamdani, um, his victory, you know, more than $15 million were thrown at derailing his candidacy, right? The
Mm-hmm.
Democrats, he wins the primary hands down. They
Yes.
don't support him. Cuomo, who should have gone home and just retired and left in with some dignity or
Well
good, you
enough
know,
alone.
he comes back. But let's look at what happened. So from coast to coast, we had these victories that are just we cannot ignore.
Right.
It was a referendum on the United States.
Yeah.
And, the Republicans are trying to make it look like, well, it was a blue thing. It was a blue thing, but let's be very clear.
Who made up that
Um,
blue?
yeah, I mean, anybody that there, places that were red, everybody went blue. And so some of that had to be red, Republicans getting in bed with the Democrats. And I say getting in bed because I've said from the beginning that one of the ways that we get through this is the stuff that, Van was talking about with his neighbors, right? I think we're going to have the strangers of bedfellows who are going to come together, and that's how we're going to get through this thing. And what we saw on Tuesday was a sprinkling of what that's going to look
Yes.
like.
Yes.
We talked about Marjorie Taylor Greene last weekend. So, here's another. Let's talk about a strange bedfellow. This is not somebody who's been on the same page with the Democrats, but she is right now. And whatever her motive is, we know, look, she believes in America first. Of course, the America first that she's talking about is for white folks only. She doesn't mean us, but we might get in bed with these people, but let's recognize that they don't really care about us. So I said last week, and I'll say again, get in the bed. Don't get cozy. Don't close your eyes. Don't pull the covers up over your head. Be ready to jump out on demand when
Get
you need to,
comfortable.
but we must recognize that from coast to coast, a resounding message was sent that the country is not interested in all this cruelty and hate. Racism is it's at the fiber of America. But what I saw last Tuesday as a referendum on Trump and the policies of 2025 and the whole bit. So did anybody else? I was just super excited by all of it. And if you haven't heard Mondani's acceptance speech, I encourage you to go back and listen to it.
Oh, I haven't heard it. I'll have to find it.
Fearless young man. And they're making an example out of him. They're trying to and everybody who endorsed him, it backfired. You had Trump endorsing Cuomo, not him, endorsed Cuomo. Trump, Elon Musk, Mike Bloomberg, all the mayors, right? Giuliani, I don't know what he said, but the New York mayors, Eric Adams, even Patterson. Remember the black governor for 2 minutes in New York? Even he had the audacity. Hakeem came out at the end, Hakeem Jeffries, and endorsed, Mr. Mamdani. But I think that was to save face. And he has never taken APAC money. He is not beholden to them in any kind of way. And that's what's fearful. And when you talk about the future, he's saying, look, guys, this is what the future can look like. And if it can happen in New York City, this is what the 1% is afraid of. It can happen around the country.
Absolutely.
And the 1% has the money, the 99% has the vote. And please don't lose sight.
And the votes are what?
And I just want to jump in and just say, for a moment, that remember the Occupy Wall Street?
Yes.
Wall Street movement? I think that probably was one of the seeds that helped Mamdani come forward, and not directly but indirectly, because tired of the capitalism that is draining them, but psychically, emotionally, spiritually, and definitely financially. And I think that Occupy Wall Street movement was probably infiltrated so that it did not take root. But they didn't know we were seeds when they tried to.
Here's what's interesting. Another prophecy that I have. I think that the Trumps and the 2025 or their MAGAs or whatever you want to call them. I think they are hoping to incite a race war, but I think what they're really going to incite is a class war. And they're going to bring poor people and the non-rich people, not just poor people, non-rich people together. Because the more this thing goes on, the more people are learning about just how deprived Americans are. So I'm hopeful if there has to be a war of any kind, I would hope that it would be a class war and that, we would come together as one, right? And that's what they're fearful of. That's what they saw on Tuesday. Like, oh, we threw all that money, all that propaganda. Mr. Mondani, because I want to make his, I want to change I want to put the M and the N in different.
Unusual
But
name.
he didn't pay anybody. He didn't pay a volunteer. People were just out there campaigning for him. And the more the one percenters came out in favor of him, they were doing, came out in favor of Cuomo, they were doing him a favor because it was just exciting people to vote for him. So it'll be great, you know. So, and he is brown, he is Muslim, he was raised in Uganda, y'all.
Yes,
Uganda. All these things that they would like to say make him undesirable, but people are like, no, we need a change. And it also takes me back to Ross Perot. I don't even know what year that was. But I didn't even know who Ross Perot was. But you know what? I knew that I was sick, and I'm young. I'm in my 20s. I didn't like what I saw politically, and people gravitated to Ross Perot um, until he named that running mate who was kind of different strain. He's a wacko, let me just say that. And that killed his campaign. But the point that I'm making is that for a very long time, Americans have been dissatisfied with the political system that we have. And it goes at least back that far, if not further. So, anyway, that's just my thoughts. Anybody have anything they want to add into that?
I had one thing I wanted to say, that capitalism, when you really look at it closely, is almost indefensible. So for years, it has been cloaked in everybody said when I was growing up, and even after I was a mature young person, we refer to our country as a democracy. You rarely heard people say that this is capitalism. So that's one change I have really seen. Now, people do talk about capitalism, but they didn't 40 years ago. It was just, this is a democracy. So I think that now that people are becoming more aware of what the kind of economy we have, and as I said, it is indefensible that people work and are not paid properly, that they don't get fair return for their work, and that it justifies a few people having everything and most of the people barely able to live. So I think that shows progress, and I think that these things that you just referred to, that they show that people are becoming a little bit more skeptical of what our foundations, what the way this economy works, and that it's not a fair arrangement. So we need to study, and we need to become better informed about what capitalism really is. I
The more
heard
bold,
Stokely Carmichael say, this was in the 60s, of course, he said, if you just said that capitalism was the devil, he said that people in the churches and all would buy that. He said, because that's what it is.
so, and the more bold these oligarchs become in terms of the way that they are buying our government and buying our governing system, and the way they're gerrymandering our judicial system, the more bold they become, the more people are waking up to understand how toxic it really is. I mean, it was the ultimate when Tesla decided that they were going to give that man $1 trillion compensation package. Unconscionable,
Yes.
just unconscionable. Not a living human being is worth even $1 billion, much less $1,000 billion.
Right.
I mean, you can't spend that much in two
In 20
millennia.
lifetimes.
You couldn't spend it in 2 millennia, 3 millennia. You couldn't spend it. And so I think that especially given things like Trump doing a great Gatsby party at Mar-a-Lago, just on the edge of people not getting their SNAP benefits. I mean, the federal minimum wage is still $7.50 an hour, while these people are making hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, it's unconscionable. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable because
Yes.
ultimately what they're trying to do is take us back to a feudal system where
Mm-hmm.
they own everything and they just rent our lives to us at their will and discretion. Like we can't even rent our lives from them unless they allow it. If we allow them to to continue in the trajectory that they're going. But I think they're actually marching themselves off a cliff
I
in,
think so
Yeah,
in
too.
this process.
absolutely. I agree. I was looking for this statement by, I think it's Dwight Eisenhower, if somebody can find it, where he says, if you convince the poorest white man, what's he saying? I was trying to find it while you were talking. You
To
stopped talking
convince
too
the
soon,
poorest white
Shakira.
man
That's
that
by
he's
Lyndon
better.
Johnson.
But
Yeah.
yeah, who is
Mhm.
it that says it? Oh,
Lyndon
Lyndon.
Johnson.
And
Yeah.
what is it, the statement?
Oh, something about if you can convince the poorest white man that he's better than the average black man, he won't, he'll empty his
Won't
pockets
notice
out
you're
for
picking
you or
his
something like that.
pockets.
Yeah.
I found
Yeah.
it, Helen.
Oh, can you put it in the chats for me, please?
I shall. If you can convince the lowest white man he's better than the best colored man, he won't notice you're picking his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, give him somebody to look down on and he'll empty his pockets for you. Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Right.
And I think they're recognizing right now, like, because like we know that the majority of people getting food stamps are white. White people should know it, but they're in denial. And
Mm-hmm.
here you have these states that are coming forward. Pennsylvania is one. I think California might be another, who are saying, you know what? We are going to bypass it and we're going to take care of our people in our state. And you have the president of the United States who's having a great Gatsby party saying, if you do that, I'm going to penalize your state. I'm going to withhold federal funding to your state if you bypass that I'm trying to starve Americans. If you do anything to thwart that
I
effort,
believe
you'll pay
that.
the consequences. People are waking
What
up.
does it
People are
take?
waking.
What does it take?
So yeah. But anyway, this has been. I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you guys have.
Yes.
Dorothy, Van,
Yeah.
Dr. Cofield, you know you can never come in my environment and not be called on.
Yeah.
Okay, Gary, what's up? Gary wants to join us before we sign off. Hi,
I,
Gary.
hello, everyone. Thank you. What a brilliant presentation. I just want to, I believe, Sister Dorothy, you made mention about riding on the shoulders of Brother Van. I currently live in Greensboro, North Carolina, and I do. I love him beyond my words. And I just got on just to make live. See, he still has the jacket that he wore at the sit-ins.
I sure do.
And I still just, I know I'll never get it because it belongs in a museum or something. But again, what he's championed, how he's inspired people, and I just hear in his voice. I had a great grandmother that in '97, she lived to be 104, but to listen to her and how she recounted the things of her life and what she endured. And so it's those things. And when I hear Brother Van all the time, he just inspires me to go and do and be better, that his labor is not in vain. And I pass it on. And, the children that we may not understand while their pants are sagging and all that other stuff, I don't look at that. I look at the heart. And Baha'u'llah says that we are noble created. And I like to remind them of that nobility. And I treat them in that vein because we have the tendency of treating people the way we see them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all a part of this collective. And so I am most grateful for those that labor. I'm 63 years old myself.
My
And I
goodness.
remember some of the days. I remember my grandmother. I remember parts of World War. I didn't know it at the time, but my grandmother was she worked in one of the houses. She had the nurse's suit in Long Meadow. So, we'd go on the back porch and she'd, give us food to take and all those kind of things. But And to think of all of that, what we thought, where we are, and to today, what's happening. The fatigue in your voice, Van, but it's not in vain, because again, all of this is a part of this old world order rolling up. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But in spite of everything that's happened to us, we're here. And it's because of our spiritual prowess. So thank you all for your labor. It's not in vain. And I'm passing on to my little nephews now. So thank you again. I just had to say that. And also love you, Van, and just, put another deposit in for that jacket. You should have had it to show that the jacket, because I can fit it now, Van. I can probably still fit it.
Man, how many did you say are left from the original sit-in crowd?
One. It's Ezel Blair, but he changed his name. It's the Khalil or whatever his name, but it's Ezel Blair.
Yeah.
And he has sisters still in Greensboro. Younger sisters in Greensboro.
His father worked on one of the committees that I worked with when at the church. Yes. I was waiting to hear his name.
Yes.
And what's the person who just passed away and they named the street after him in Wilmington? What was his name? Neely?
McCain. Lord. I don't know. I can't think of the first name.
Why am I thinking McNeely?
Oh, no, McNeil. That's right. Joe McNeil.
Yeah.
Joe McNeil.
Okay. Yeah.
And
he was there for the February gathering.
He was there in February, but he had maybe it's something. He wasn't able to carry on conversations. He looked bad. He looked bad. But he came. He was the only one who came. He was the only one that came. Ezel could have come, probably.
Named the street after him in Wilmington. But I have to tell y'all before we go, I went to the Greensboro Museum. It's because, in case you don't know, the Woolworth shop is now the museum.
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
And I don't know who this director was. So when I was doing what I call my little southern tricks, and I was coming from, I think, North Carolina, and then I was going into Greensboro, and I called ahead to find out what's the last time for the tour. So I don't know what they said, 4:00, whatever. Just make sure you're here before then. Okay, so I get there. But when I get there, because I'm into souvenirs, as you can see, and I said, I need to know, do we go into because I knew it was the last tour of the day. Will the gift shop still be open, or will I have to, or should we go to the gift shop now? No. Go ahead, do the tour. We don't close until you guys leave, blah, blah, blah. So I go, me and these people, we go and we do the tour. And of course, I'm like ready to go to the gift shop. Well, the gift shop's closed. I'm like, and so, I'm complaining, like, you need to reopen the bookshop, because this is what I told the gift shop. This is what we were told. And most people, good Black people, they just, were upset, but they left. I refuse to leave. Me and these white folks, we're there, and I'm just really complaining. So they go and where's the manager? So they get this guy. I don't even remember his name. He comes down. He's the manager. He decides we're going to open the gift shop and let us shop. And I was so incensed because he opens a gift shop. He entertains the white folks, and I hear him over there apologizing to them and offering them Christmas ornaments for their tree or whatever the heck he never acknowledges me in any kind of way. Feels no need to apologize to me, right? So Dorothy, you know what I did. I was angry when I realized, like, this manager, they said, oh, he had a board meeting. I was livid, so livid that I was, because how dare you disrespect me, a Black woman? This is a Black man. How dare you disrespect me? And this is of all establishments. You're going to disrespect me here? And so I'm waiting. I was going to wait for him. And I ridiculous, because I don't know how long the board meeting was going to be. So I went and I got something to eat. And I'm just complaining about him. I'm talking to my girlfriend on the phone. And who walks by the window but that man?
Oh, God. Why? Why did he do it?
much to his chagrin, because I couldn't get on that sidewalk fast enough. Oh, and I verbally accosted him. I sure did. How dare you disrespect me? And he knew immediately who I was, of course. Um, and of course, he wanted to explain. He was apologizing. I have an African wife. I would never disrespect a Black woman. Let me buy you dinner. I've already eaten. Well, let me buy you a drink. I don't drink. But I'm just saying, that was a horrible experience. And I told him, I said, you don't know, I was getting ready to write an editorial on you to the local newspaper. How could I come to a civil rights museum like this that
Right.
honors,
And be
our
insulted.
struggle, and you disrespect me?
Mhm.
And the white folks weren't spending any money, y'all. And they realized they had a dinner engagement and had to leave. So I'm the only one spending money. But anyway, that's Greensboro for you, Gary.
Unending battle.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even remember his name, but he apologized profusely. But I was just like, how, when you talk about what you were saying, Van, when we act like we've arrived, like really, we've arrived such that we can just disrespect one another.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But anyway,
This was a Black man?
yes,
Oh, yeah.
he was a Black man. Yeah, and he was a director of the museum at that time. I don't even know what year it was, because I always do these I call them my Southern trips. But yeah, I don't remember his name. But anyway, I'm getting we're getting kudos for you guys in the chats. We're going to sign off. Dr. Cofield, I love you dearly. So whenever you're in my presence, I have to take a little bit of your knowledge. So I hope you don't mind me putting you on the spot.
Not at all.
It's wonderful to meet both Dorothy and Will, both doctors. And thank you, Helen. Thank you for asking me.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I just thought it was, let's talk about 1960 to 2025 and where are we? So I hope this was an enlightening conversation for everyone. Dorothy, I hope that you are victorious in your case, because it's for all of us. And I'm not at all surprised that you are taking on such a task that benefits all of us. So thank you. Keep being you. Van, I'm so glad to have made your acquaintance.
Thank you.
And you're not going anywhere. You got me now. And Dr. Cofield, the same for you. So on that note, if everybody can just unmute, and we can, unless you all have some parting words that you want to say before we sign off. Anything, Dorothy?
Oh God.
No.
I'm just excited
So
for the week.
So good night,
hold on.
everybody.
I'm trying to remove all the spotlights. So if we
I just
can
want to
just
acknowledge Dr. Willa Cofield. I've been a huge fan of hers for a very long time. And so, Willa, it's great to see you. And I appreciate the fact that Helen gives you the platform to share some of this information. And so I am very happy to meet Dorothy for the first time, but I will definitely be following up on some of your work. Congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah. Thank you.
And that's Dr. Bill Davis, Professor Rutgers.
I always call him Doctor too. He's a doctor for all intents and purposes.
It's honorary if it's not, if he hasn't, the Academy hasn't seen fit to give him a.
For sure.
He's done
For sure.
yeoman's work in New Jersey and African American history. So
I didn't pull Phyllis McCants into this conversation. She's another of our elders amongst us. I'm sorry, Miss McCants, because I know she would have had great things to share with us
I'm
as
here.
well.
I haven't missed a beat. Not one
Can you
beat.
Right. And how old are you, if you don't mind sharing?
83, looking to 100 plus.
Oh, thank God she's older than me.
I sent you a text. I sent you a chat, Glenn.
Yes, I saw that. Oh, God.
So we got a lot of wisdom on this call. And
gee.
yeah, so thank you all for coming. Can we just unmute and do what we do and sign off? For those of us who know. I'm sorry. So when Black women gather,
amazing things happen.
Amazing things happen.
Wow. Great to see all of
This has
you.
been another amazing Sunday. Thank you all.
Be well.
Thank you all for coming.
Love you, Van. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Yes,
Yeah.
me too.
Thank you.
Yes.
You all. Thank you.
I'll put the video out. I'll try to get it out by the middle of the week. So and I'll send it all to you as a copy. And anybody who wants to make a donation, I put the link in the chat more than once. Yes, yes. I accept donations of any kind. So please. And we'll see you again next week.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
You all.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye.
Blessings.
Before we
All
leave,
right. Thank you
Yes.
all
Helen,
again. Yes.
before we leave,
Yes.
I wanted to talk about Buy Black real fast.
Oh, go. Yes. Yes. Go
Anybody
ahead.
in New Jersey, we have something called Buy Black, and this is our 17th year. All vendors that look like us, and we really want to reach out to people because the upcoming boycott, we hope to honor the boycott in November and the beginning of December. So this would be your opportunity to get your holiday gifts, birthday presents, whatever. It's at Christina Sykes Academy, which is 1550 Stuyvesant Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey, November the 15th, which is next Saturday, from 10 until about 4 p.m. So please come out, free admission, and spend our money in our community. Thank you.
Send me a flyer for that, and I will share it with the entire distribution list, and I'll put it on the Facebook page.
Thank you.
Can I
All
just
righty.
ask Jocelyn if will they have online presence?
I'm sorry?
Could we get any information on any online presence that they may have for people who don't live in New Jersey who might want to buy their stuff?
We actually do not, but
Okay.
that's something we could consider for next year, but we don't have it this year. But thank you.
Uh-huh.
That is a good idea. Excellent idea. All right. So on
Thank you,
that note,
Helen.
I'm
This
going to
was
stop
excellent.
recording. I kept recording so that anybody who watches it who had already signed off, if they see this video, they'll get that information, Jocelyn.
Great, thank you. This was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys are great. Thank you for coming. BB, the BB signed off. She left me. She was just here. Now she's gone. All right, I'm going to stop recording.